From inside TD Garden, where the Boston Celtics just topped the Brooklyn Nets 115-114, I am Josue Pavon alongside Bobby Manning, here to recap this game. Bobby, what an atmosphere, what a finish. The Celtics survived the Nets. It was a two-game possession at one point in the final minutes, and it came through from defense, it came through from late-game execution, including a no timeout by Ime Udoka, which proved that the Celtics could, that Ime had that trust in them, I guess, and he wasn't disappointed as the Celtics topped this one. Jayson Tatum with the game-winning layup, but Marcus Smart with the great pass down the stretch, man. Where do we begin, Bobby?
You got to start with the end. I mean, we could cram so much into this video, but that's an instant classic moment in Boston sports history. Depending on how this playoff run goes, overcoming a 5-point deficit with 5 minutes left, fourth quarter meltdown, and executing that seamlessly. I mean, Marcus Smart, just on the fly, the up fake, the corner out of his eye, Tatum appears and he finds him. He said he was initially looking for Al Horford there, but you also got to give Jaylen Brown credit for the initial drive and kick. It all just came together perfectly, and that was my first thought too. The credit to Udoka. No timeout. This is what people were freaking out about Udoka with earlier in the year. Why couldn't he stop the meltdowns in the fourth quarters? Why doesn't he call timeout? Why doesn't he call a play? Well, this is what he was trying to lead to. Their ability to drum up things as players, empower them on the fly, and connect with each other in the flow of a game, because you can't always call a timeout in a situation like that. Sometimes it's advantageous to keep Goran Dragic and Kyrie Irving on the floor, as John talked about on postgame. So it came together seamlessly. The start of the fourth was really scary, but man, I think Nick Josue texted me and said that's Bird to DJ. Gotcha, I think it's a good comparison.
I got to watch that highlight again because it's been a while, but he might be spot on with that one because it definitely had that feel to it. It was another playoff game, I think there was a little more on the line on that one, but this game, to his credit, to Nick's credit, it did certainly have that feel to it, and with the atmosphere, the no love lost between Celtics fans and Kyrie Irving, which we'll talk about in another video. But yeah, look, the Ime in this team have obviously gone a long way, in terms of him trusting these guys down the stretch in that fourth quarter. But when you look at Jaylen Brown, man, that was what was bothering me, right? To what you just said, I'm like, this is a perfect opportunity for him to sort of make his mark, be assertive, get to the rim. That's exactly what he did right before that timeout that led to, Ime eventually saying, look, I think these guys have gotten it. I think the timeout, I've heard enough from these guys that I'm going to not call a timeout the next time they have the ball. Keep the Nets on their heels, keep that lineup in the mix. And, of course, that was exactly what the Celtics needed for that defense to collapse.
Yeah, Brown gets a lot of credit out of this one. He'll probably go undervalued out of this game, but he hit the two aggressively downhill, down three right before the game winner there, had another bucket before that, and throughout the game was just pressuring the rim. Turnovers popped up at times, but he ends up getting to 20 points and gave the Celtics the scoring they need away from Tatum because he was getting taken off the ball all game. So Smart's number one on my credit list. I mean, he makes the drive and kick pass that sets up a Brown three to get back into the game initially there, and hits a tough layup down the stretch too. Smart was everywhere, made up for that mistake on Kyrie, but Brown's number two, getting downhill, being a finisher, and just making himself available all game, and really forcing the issue as things got tight offensively late. People had to step up. I feel like multiple Celtics did, and it really is the complete opposite of how this game would have gone in January, in December. Right. Like, it's unreal. And you got terrified at the beginning of the fourth quarter, didn't you, the way that it looked?
What do you think happened there? That was actually, you led me right into my next question, because the way they came out after halftime, I'm like, this is exactly what they need to do every single game. Continue to turn it back on, continue to get that drive. You build this 15-point lead, and then all of a sudden it's gone, and you still had 7 minutes left to go in the fourth quarter. What happened there? How did the Celtics break down the way they did?
Well, I think it started with the turnovers. Tatum started giving the ball away early or late third. Tice, I think, getting lined up by Kyrie late in the third. When he got those 6 straight points against him, that's what got Kyrie firing, and I think bent the Celtics defense there, the way he was hitting threes off the dribble, spot ups, all that different kind of stuff. And then I think just that wave of being up 15 to 7 within 3, all of a sudden I think that doubt starts to creep into their mind. Guys are making mistakes. There was a little bit of fingers pointed in that huddle after they gave up the final 3 to Irving. Smart missed the assignment there, I think, creeping in too much on Durant. So all that stuff piled up against them. The snowball effect. Ime talked about it. I talked about it earlier in the year. Yeah. It just piles up, and then it's like, who's going to stop it? And Marcus was the one who did it, I felt like.
Yeah, I thought Marcus did. I thought Al Horford, there was a big reason why he played over 40 minutes in this one, because they needed him out there. They needed him to stop the bleeding on defense.
They couldn't play Tice anymore.
Right, they couldn't play Tice anymore, and you start running out of options between Tice, Grant Williams, who struggled a bit. They were all in foul trouble too. So Al had to be that anchor on both ends, and man, did he come through, man! What a game for Al! 20 points, 15 rebounds. Look, we always talk about his age and how much is he gonna have in this playoff series. This is it, in my opinion. This is it. I mean, without Rob, he has to take on that load, and I think he's ready for it. And he's also experienced, the most experienced guy on this Celtics team, and he certainly showed that in this one.
Yep, stepping up for Rob too. Perfect guy. I mean, who could you ask for that would be better to fill that center position with Rob gone? He gives you the versatility, the switching, shot blocking at times, definitely defensive rebound. 15 in this game, 20 points, steps into a three right away and sets a tone in this game, and then scores again and flexes to the crowd. There's a real energy to him. And like you said, coming out of halftime, backing down Curry there. Like, he just had an extra oomph to everything he was doing. Him and Tice were on the offensive boards. I think you mentioned 3 putbacks. First 3 offensive rebounds he got all turned into points. So he was everywhere. He was the rock. I feel like the game swung based on whether he was in the game or out of the game at times. So I wrote on Boston Sports Journal coming into this game. I mean, this was his first playoff game.
That was like your precursor.
Yeah, first playoff game in an NBA arena since 2019 here with the Celtics. Makes his way back. Same old Al, as everyone around him was saying. He never fell off. It was just the situations and, bad teams effectively with the 76ers and Thunder. They didn't fit on all that well. Well, he's back. And like I've said all year, it looks like he never left. Yeah. This is what Horford would have done in the playoffs in 2018. Right. Nothing different.
Legit, especially that stat line. 20 points, 15 rebounds. I mean, these are the kind of performances that really carried the Celtics, especially in that year. Obviously Isaiah Thomas was the MVP, but he was the glue. He was the rock, and it resonated on both ends, and that's exactly what you saw in this Brooklyn Game 1 matchup.
Yeah, and you talked about it. The Nets couldn't get to the paint. Yeah. Like what they were doing with Grant, who I thought was awesome defensively. Sure, I disagreed, but, we'll go look at the film. They were pinching the lane. Yeah. Nets couldn't get to the basket. It was a lot of mid-range action, a lot of jump shots. And especially in transition, they were getting back and forcing turnovers in transition too. I thought Dragic kind of falling out of bounds there. Midway through the fourth quarter was a big moment. Easy points that the Nets lost there. So the Celtics defensively were sharp in this one. What they did on Durant was unbelievable, really tightening up the space on his shooting area there without fouling him. They did foul a ton in this game, which is something they're going to have to clean up, but they did as the game went on. Horford got 2 in the first quarter. I think he ended the game with 3. So much positive to take away from this game. The start of the fourth was scary because you lose like that. I think a mental impact of something like that is really hard to measure and could have just been catastrophic for this team. But coming through the way they did might have the opposite effect. Right.
It's definitely an identity win. It's something that I think could resonate, or should resonate rather, and carry into game 2, at least that momentum, that focus. I think this is, without question, a confidence booster for all these guys. And that's going to do it for us here at TD Garden. Wednesday night is game 2, and this video is sponsored by our good folks at calm.com. Head over to calm.com/garden, where you can save 40% off a premium subscription. All you got to do is head over to calm.com/garden. That's calm.com/garden to claim that 40% discount on a premium subscription. The Celtics once again top the Brooklyn Nets 115-114 inside TD Garden. We will be back here Wednesday night for game 2. For Bobby Manning, I am Josue Pavon. We'll see you guys then.